a Family Test 6. So this is answer your next couple of questions based on 1089 and the Family Court rules. So, one, I'm just going to tell you it's true. At the conclusion of a dispositional hearing at which a child is freed for adoption, which means either parental rights are terminated or there's a surrender of some kind, the court shall set a date for the initial freed child permanency hearing and advise all parties in court except for the respondent. So that's true. 2, the initial freed child permanency hearing shall commence no later than 30 days after the hearing at which the child was free. So 30 days, and the regular one is like 8 months. But for the freed child, children freed for adoption, it's 30 days, must be completed within 30 days. The initial freed child permanency hearing shall be completed within 30 days. True or false? The number 4 is true. The initial freed hearing may commence immediately upon completion at which the child was freed for adoption, provided. Number 4, true or false? The initial free child permanency hearing may be commenced immediately after the hearing where the child was freed for adoption, provided adequate notice has been given. So that is true. All permanency hearings, except for permanency hearings for children freed for adoption, shall be scheduled for a date certain, which shall be commenced not more than, and then it's a little tricky, but the answer is A, 6 months from the date, which is 60 days after the date the child was removed from its home, aka 8 months. The reason it's got like that I wrote it like this is because in the family court rules it just says 8 months from the date the child is removed. But in the statute in 1089 it says that 60 days after 6 months crap. So that's why it's in there like this, so that you know how to recognize, word it with the 60 days or they word it as 8 months. Number 6, all permanency hearings, including freed child permanency hearings, must be completed within 30 days of their commencement. 30 days from commencement, the court has to complete the permanency hearing, whether or not the child is freed. 7, the notice of permanency hearing and sworn permanency report shall be served by regular mail only. So the petitioner, which is the agency usually, serves it by regular mail on a whole bunch of people that you'll get to in test 7. Next, the notice of permanency hearing and sworn permanency report shall be served at least 14 days in advance of the permanency hearing. That's a gift question if they give it to you. 14 days in advance of the hearing. 7, if they give you this, it's a gift question. The notice of permanency hearing and sworn permanency report shall be served by regular mail only. And then they have to be served in the next question at least 14 days in advance of the permanency hearing date. So 14 days in advance of the hearing date by regular mail. Okay, the next one is the long question. I hope they don't give this to you, but if they do, you should be able to recognize all of these things. The notice of permanency hearing and the sworn permanency report shall be served on or provided to, and then we have the list of 7 here. So this list included the court, but there's actually, if you're talking about who it's actually served on, who gets it by regular mail, that get both of them.
I put a little twist in my hips. Here we go. Kiss on my lips. Here we go. Ice on my wrist, 'cause I'm hot and I'm dancing. Cut that romance.
1, the parent or parents, including any non-respondent parent, unless the rights have been terminated or surrendered. Any other person legally responsible for the child's care at the most recent address known to DSS or the agency. The foster parent in whose home the child currently resides. So the current foster parent, the agency supervising the care on behalf of the social services district with whom the child was placed. 5, the child's attorney. 6, any pre-adoptive parent or relative providing care to the child. Yes, because the pre-adoptive parent or relative providing care to the child, they get both the report and the notice, even though they're not a party. And then the court, it's obviously provided to them, but it's not served on them. It's just provided. So the one that wasn't in this question was a child 10 or over is also served with a copy of the notice of permanency hearing only. There's actually two extras that weren't in this question that received the notice of permanency hearing, not the report. One is a child who's age 10 or older, and the other one is a former foster parent where the child resided for a minimum of 12 consecutive months. The former foster parent and the child, if over the age of 10, would get the notice only, the notice of permanency hearing, not the report. That's why I didn't put it in this question, because I wanted you to know who gets both, and who gets both is these 7. Number 10 was a bit of a trick question because if you looked at it and you saw, oh my God, there's no right answer, that just means you didn't read the question clearly. So it says the permanency hearing report need not include which of the following. And they all look really good, right? But the one that you should have gotten was B, because there is no such thing as an updated law guardian report. We don't even use that term anymore. We say attorney for the child. And then all this other stuff has to be in there. So let's just go through it so you hear it on the video. The permanency hearing report must include, among other things, the child's current permanency goal, the recommended permanency plan, the status of the parent, and a description of the reasonable efforts undertaken by social services district to achieve that goal, and the health, well-being, and status of the child since the last hearing. So I'm going to go through this test. I'm going to go through this test really quickly one more time with when I'm talking to you, so that you can listen to it and hopefully memorize anything that you haven't gotten yet. So the first 3 questions I'm going to do all at the same time. At the conclusion of the dispositional hearing. So when does the court set the date? Answer: at the conclusion of the dispositional hearing. The court sets a date for the initial free child permanency hearing within 30 days and notifies everyone in court of the date except the respondent or respondents. All permanency hearings must be completed within 30 days of their commencement, whether or not the child is freed or not. The initial permanency hearing for a child freed for adoption may commence immediately upon completion of the hearing where the child was freed, provided adequate notice has been given. All other permanency hearings, so all other permanency hearings, meaning except the ones where a child is freed for adoption, they must commence when? 2 answers. The easy answer is in the rules, 8 months from when the child is removed from its home. Hard one, 60 days from the date, which is 6 months. So the straightforward answer is 8 months. The stupid answer is 6 months from the date, which is 60 days after the date the child was removed from its home. Just know both. It's basically 8 months. All permanency hearings must be completed within 30 days of their commencement. The notice of permanency hearing and sworn permanency report shall be served by regular mail on who? So who gets both? Parent or parents, including non-respondent parents, unless the rights are terminated or surrendered. Any other PLR at the most recent address known to the agency or social services. The current foster parent, the agency supervising the care of the child on behalf of the social services district, child's attorney, any pre-adopted parent or relative providing care to the child, and the court. Now, there's 2 others that receive only the notice of permanency hearing, but not the report. And who are they? 1, a child age 10 or over, so 10 years and 1 day, gets the regular mailed notice of permanency hearing. And then the other one is a former foster parent in whose home the child resided in for at least 12 consecutive months. So there's 9 in the list that you want to know about. There's the 7 that get both, and then there's the court, which is like not getting it served, but they still get it. And then the other 2 that just get the notice, which is the former foster parent with the 12 months and the child itself if it's over the age of 10. The gift question, which is the notice of permanency hearing and report shall be served at least 14 days in advance of the hearing date. And the permanency hearing report has to include, among other things, the current permanency goal, the recommended permanency plan, reasonable efforts undertaken by the social services district to get the pregnancy goal, the health, well-being, and status of the child since the last hearing, the status of the parent, and a description of the reasonable efforts undertaken to achieve the goal, and any other information the court wants is probably in there. Okay, now I'm going to go to 7, and that will wrap up the Family Court Act.